I almost did it, Dr. Howe. I almost did. I had to compose myself because I forgot this wasn't that other show, Awkward Situations. But it was close. It was close. It was close, man. Listen, man.
Mm-mm-mm.
Um, wow. Where do we start? Where do we start?
Yeah, you're that rusty, yeah.
I got something here, and I don't know if it's going to show or not because I'm gonna say where do we start? We like the Isley brothers. You know what I mean? We coming back together. But listen, man, it's good to see you. We know that we're in my space doing some rebuilding over here, and so we had to do a little pause from the show, but. That pause is going to allow us to come out fresh, right?
Hmm.
To get some new things going. And so we're coming back on the scene, but we haven't been dead. Dr. Howe has been continually moving. He's been doing some stuff, making some shorts, and doing those things on that end. He is still out there doing his coaching, MEI. He is still doing coaching. He's still doing all the great things that he has been called to do. He is ministering in his own way. Let's just be honest. Let's put it out there, Dr. Howe. He is,
Yeah, yeah.
some are called to be preachers, some are called to be teachers, even some were called to be witnesses, right? Some then are called to counsel those who are preachers, those who are teachers, and those who are witnesses. Somebody ought to say amen. See, I don't want to go to church
Amen.
this evening, but I can if you want me to. But Dr. Howe has been called to the stage, if you will, to coach and to counsel those who know they are in need, if you will, know that they have something going on in their lives. Dr. Howe, what is I think is this month Suicide Awareness Month? Is that September? It's September, October. I can't think what mental health is one of those months. You know
Mental
what I mean?
health is either we're in it or it's coming up. But I thought September was mental health.
Somewhere, yeah, something
Yeah.
to that nature. And so mental health is big. It is it's hard to regulate when you're in the midst of a crisis, right? It's
Hmm.
hard to regulate. But if you know that you are in need, this is the time like no other, right? So you're hearing the sound of my voice, and you know that you need some help. Don't be afraid to call out. Don't be afraid to say, "Listen, I need some help. I need somebody that can listen to me, that can hear my voice." So anyway, Dr. Howe, we before we got before the show started, I said this is freestyle. This is freestyle night, right? So now I don't want you to freestyle all the way. Now, forgive me though, Dr. Howe, because you before you you said before we started the show, you said to me, what I want you to do, I just want you to tell the people because some people don't know and some people are hearing this for the first time. I want you to tell them about what we see in the background there, right? The seeking happiness, the 12P model, and
Leadership
leadership
management.
management. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's all about relationship building. I
Yes.
want you for a few minutes. I want you to talk to us about that. Where can we get that? What are those about? Especially that 12P model. What that 12P model? I think that's science, right?
No, no, no. That's actually self improvement. It's a 12P model to success and personal transformation. Basically, it highlights my transformation from pessimist to optimist, from a person who doubted himself on so many different levels to a person who believes that the sky is the limit. And it talks about some personal stories. It talks about finding your purpose. It talks about procrastination. It talks about all the P's that you can come across, persistence, and all those things that you need in order to organize your life. And the reason why I came up with it is because when I was growing up, I never had a roadmap. And I was one of those kids that had a lot of dark thoughts. I was one of those kids who was very pessimistic about life. And somewhere along the way, I changed my attitude to being an optimistic person. And so it talks about the process of getting there, why it's important, how to get rid of limiting beliefs, how to get rid of self-doubt and all of that white noise that you hear in the back of your head telling you you can't do this, you can't do that. Why even bother? Why even try? And I reference quite a few of the people who have gone ahead of us. And if you want to call them trailblazers, that kind of illuminated the whole life coaching area and showed us that there was a way possible that a lot of us, especially in our community, weren't aware of. Because I remember, and a lot of movies have come out about it, Barbershop 1 and 2. They talk about how the barbershop in Black communities is where Black people go to get advice from other people. Because Black people, on a whole, do not like to go to the professionals because they see it as a sign of weakness. But in that 12P book, one of the things that I talk about is the fact that I had a math tutor for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I needed in order to set me straight. And sometimes in life, all you need is life coaching for a few sessions, whether it's 5, 6, 7, even 10 or 15 sessions. And then you get the tools and the systems necessary to get your life back on track. So the 12P model kind of highlights that. Seeking happiness kind of goes through that, but from a different standpoint.
But before you go into seeking happiness, you said
Okay.
something important in that 12P process, and I'm not for sure if everyone heard him. He said when he was growing up, he didn't have a roadmap, right? A lot of folk in this community, right, in this circle, this community, do not have maps growing up, right? So they don't have mentors. Okay, so you can see where I'm going, right? They don't have those who pour into them the necessary tools for success, right? How do we, because we're talking about relationship building, right? How do we make sure, this whole concept, they started putting this out a while ago, no child left behind, that whole concept they had put out, in education.
Yeah.
But how do we do that in real life, right? How do we make roadmap as important as rap music, right? As important as the, PS5 and you see where I'm going. How do we make, because let's be honest, right? Unless you're in a particular group, and I'm not talking race or anything, but I'm talking about in academics, right? In academics and stuff like that, right? So if you're not in AP classes, right, in high school, most likely you're not going to get the road map, if you will, right? If you just, I'm just an everyday kid and I'm going to school and I want to succeed, right? But I wasn't good enough to get into AP courses or anything like that. And so my counselor did not give me the tools to succeed, right? I mean, I can say myself, my counselor didn't, tell me that when I got to college, maybe you shouldn't, maybe this shouldn't be your major, right? I wasn't good in math, but I decided, because I like computers, I was going to go into computer science. So a lot of math, right? But my high school counselor didn't say, Tross, you might want to look at something else. And you can go down that road, but know that you're going to have to get tutoring and get these. You see what I'm saying? Creating a real roadmap for me, right? So I'm asking you because this 12P model kind of deals with that, right? It's a
Yes.
roadmap. But
Yes.
how do we get the youth of today connected to that type of roadmap?
Well, the first thing I want to highlight is this, because my father has the same problem in Barbados, and I'm writing a series of articles with him. There's a lot of violence and there's a lot of drug use in Barbados. So we're writing some articles to address that issue. And he wanted to take the standpoint of let's address the drugs that are prevalent. And I said to him, no, that's just a symptom of a bigger problem. Because if you look at athletes tend not to use as many drugs because they have a purpose. They put a lot of time into training and they don't want to mess their bodies up. Now, I'm not talking about steroids and all that people might get into. I'm just talking about drinking and all the other drugs that a lot of kids tend to get into. You tend to find that athletes in high school tend not to be as willing to do drugs and to do some of the activities that people without focus and guidance do. And so I was telling my father that in high school, we have to teach kids that there is another way. And we have to also teach kids that everything in life comes with a price.
Right.
And everyone has to pay that cost. And you either pay up front or for the rest of your life. So, for example, you do the 4 years of hard work in college and you tend to get higher paying jobs and you work easier for the rest of your life, your 20, 30, 40 years that you work. Whereas if you skip getting a trade, you skip college, you skip getting some type of extra knowledge that will gain you some type of income, you end up working hard for 30 years versus the 4 years and of college. And so there's a price to pay. And every decision that you make is a price.
Right.
Because it's going to lead to some type of consequence. And is it going to be a positive price that pays off? Or is it going to be a negative price that pays off? And so with the 12P model, it shows you what you can do to avoid paying long term, paid up front. And it gives you strategies to chop stuff down into small bite-sized goals and set smart goals, specific goals, measurable goals, attainable goals, and goals that you can actually call reasonable and then time bound. That's what the acronym SMART stands for. And so when you set SMART goals, you're very specific as to what the goal is, and you are more likely to reach the goal. But another thing that people don't look at is this: we're busy being busy, but we're not getting anything done.
Right.
And so there's a rule called the 80-20 rule, where 80% of what you want to accomplish in life can be achieved by finding the 20% of things that cover those 80%.
Wow.
So in other words, you make a list of 10 things. There are about 2 or 3 things on there that if you get done will cover 80% of what you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
So you just have to find what that 20% is. The problem is we start with the easy stuff and work ourselves up, work our way up to the busy stuff or the difficult stuff, and we get burnt out along the way. Why not prioritize the stuff based on what you're trying to achieve and do the most important things and delegate what you can't delegate, which is what part of the Eisenhower matrix, where you find what is urgent versus what's important. And the urgent stuff you get done now. The important stuff you delegate. the stuff that's not urgent and not important, you cross off the list because it's just a waste of time.
Right.
So how much of your day you actually spend wasting time?
Mm.
How much of your time, how much of the time in the day do you spend doing things that really don't impact your life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so there's a saying that goes like this: don't spend your day trying to prioritize what's important. You prioritize your day based on what is important. And so what I'm trying to get to is this: your priorities should outline the day. You should only be focused on the most important things every day.
Right.
Don't just make a list of things to do and be busy all day. You find, okay, what on this list is going to help me achieve what needs to be achieved.
Mm-hmm.
And then you focus on that until it's done.
Right.
You don't be doing 2 and 3 things at one time, because we do not have the ability to multitask as we think. And if you have ADHD like I do, every time the phone rings and you get off the phone, it takes you 15 minutes to get back to where you were when you answered the phone initially. And if the phone rings 10 minutes in, again, what happens is you only got 5 minutes worth of work done.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to go to quiet places. You got to turn your phone off. You got to make sure that you are in places that don't distract you. Make sure that you unplug from the electronics to get things done.
Mm.
And that works in relationships too.
Right.
You have to
Absolutely.
prioritize what's important to you in your relationship and get only that stuff done. You focus on that. So whatever your partner always fusses about, that's what's important to them. So you got to prioritize that stuff.
Mm.
If they're talking about you not taking the trash out, don't go make lunch. The trash is something that's more important.
Right.
So you have to do what you have to prioritize what your partner finds important. And so that's basically how life is. Then the 12P model just gives you 12 ways of organizing and setting up your life with systems that will help you get things done.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. So seeking happiness, from the jump, seeking happiness would say you're searching for something,
Yes.
right? One of the things we said in one episode a while ago is we talk about you know, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. Your happiness has nothing to do with anybody else.
Exactly.
It's you. You
Yeah.
know, you want to be happy, you're going to be happy. You can't count on Jane Doe or John Doe or Pete, Paul, Jimmy, John, you know, whoever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw some female names. Wendy, you know, you can't depend on them to make you happy. And when you do that, when you say I'm not happy because A B C D E F G, right?
Because you.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and when you say that, you're setting yourself up for failure right away.
But you're setting someone else up for
Oh,
failure too.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah,
because it
definitely.
goes both ways. Because
Mhm.
they're saying, listen, you know, because they may have read some of your books. They're like, listen, I'm not here to make you happy. You know, I'm here to love you. I'm here to, you know, to care for you. I'm doing all. But listen, it's like this. You go and buy a ticket for a comedy show,
Mhm.
right? And you buy that ticket because you want Kevin Hart to make you laugh,
Yeah.
right? I mean, your intentions is to go there and Kevin Hart is supposed to make you laugh. And you get there and nothing that he says is funny. First thing you're going to say is, I want my money back.
Yeah.
And Kevin Hart can say, he going to say, listen, 99.5% of the people in here laughed. You the only one that didn't laugh.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I can't make you laugh.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I can't
Yeah.
make you laugh. If you don't find me funny, you just don't find me funny. Buy a ticket somewhere else. But you are in charge of your happiness. So I don't know if that's what that is about, but tell us about that seeking happiness.
You're definitely on the right track. Basically, what it says is you're in charge of your own life, buddy.
Mm.
And you have to find ways of finding the happiness in your life. happiness comes from within. So the first thing you need to do is to get your mindset right. If you're looking for positive things in your life, you're gonna find what you look for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're looking for someone to attack you, eventually you're gonna get attacked.
Right.
If you're looking for wealth and you do things that wealthy people do and you mimic that, eventually you will get some wealth. You know, and so if you want to be happy, the first thing you have to do is to be grateful for every day.
Mm.
So one of the things I've learned to do along the way is every night I say in my mind the 3 things that I'm happy about and I'm grateful for that happened today.
Mm.
And I don't just say stuff like waking up this morning and getting food and stuff. You know, no, you try and change it up. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to help that person today.
Right.
I was thankful for the opportunity to give money to a homeless person today. I held the door open for not just one person, but 3 people today. You know, think about the guy on the side of the road who's homeless and foodless. Is he opening the door? Is he even thinking about opening the door for someone? And so I had the ability to have food. And with that food, I'm not just thankful for the food. I'm actually going to take that energy and help someone today that I normally wouldn't help. And if you normally help people that you work for, find someone you normally don't talk to and be kind to them, and then use that as a reason for gratitude in your attitude that night. And so seeking happiness is finding different ways for you to open up your mind to happiness, because having if you are relying on someone else to keep you happy, you'll never be happy, because people will always fall short. People cannot make you happy. They can create opportunities for you to be happy. They can create an environment for you to be happy. They can even create situations and conversations for you to find happiness. But that's a journey you have to take for yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so don't go into a relationship thinking that your husband or wife's job is to make you happy. No, you'll never be happy, because they will always fall short. Their job is to enhance your life by creating situations based on their gifts that will stimulate you to become a better version of yourself.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, we dealt with the 12P model. We dealt with seeking happiness, and then I like the other book you have over there. That's leadership and management. Is that what
Yeah.
that? I'm just a little
Would
blurry
you
from
take the elevator or the stairs?
the elevator or the stairs. So I'm gonna take now. I'm trying to self-analyze it. So I'm gonna take that as saying, as it relates to leadership and management, either I'm going to take the long road
Mm-hmm.
to that level, leadership management,
Yes.
or I'm going to take the fast track
There you
to
go.
to get there. So give us a little bit about what this means. What's the purpose behind this book?
The purpose behind this book, because everybody wants a leadership position. Everyone
Mhm.
wants a management position, but not everybody is leadership and management worthy.
Absolutely.
You know, the first thing about a manager, let me preface it by saying this. A leader is someone who people are willing to follow. If you're leading and nobody is following you, you're just taking a stroll. So the difference between a leader and a stroller are the people willing to walk behind you, the people willing to take that journey with you. And so people have to see something in you that they want. People have to be willing to trust you. People have to know that you have their back. People need to know that you know where you're going. People need to know that you have a vision of what needs to be done and how to get them there. These are all things that leaders have to go through.
Hmm.
But a lot of people think that leadership is a title. Leadership can be a title. Some people are leaders because they've been in the company the longest. But think about this. Martin Luther King didn't have money, but he had a whole bunch of people behind him. Malcolm X didn't have money, but he had people that were willing to put money behind him and follow him. Mother Teresa, people idolize her now because she stood up for what she believed in, and she put her money where her mouth is. So the second thing I want to say about leadership is this. With leadership, yes, you need to be far enough ahead of people to motivate them, but you need to be close enough to them to entice them to take that journey, because some people are so far ahead of you, you might say, man, I'll never get to that point. Right. So for example, you and I, we are kind of getting up there in age.
I'm sorry. I zoned out for like 2.2 seconds. We see that's some French stuff that you learned when you were in Europe. We are not. You may be.
Yeah. So for us to get to $100 billion might be a gargantuan task.
Right.
So if Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and all those guys were coming and talking to us about, listen, in the next 30 years, you can be where I am. We might be, I ain't got 30 years to just focus on that. I want to enjoy some part of my life before I croak. But if somebody comes and said, hey, I can get you to $10 million in 5 years, that's something that's more attainable. 5 years, I think we got 5 years in us. So we can run behind that. But somebody's talking about 30 years. Let me get to the 10 million before I see where I'm going to go next.
Right.
Type of situation. So a leader must be far enough ahead of you to know how to get you there, but close enough to you to inspire you to keep moving forward. That's the second thing. The third thing is a leader, a healthy leader, has to be willing to give up power, has to be willing to delegate. You can't delegate if you don't give up some of your power. And you can't get buy-in if you're not willing to share that power. A manager is a subordinate of a leader who has a certain amount of that leader's power. And so the more you delegate and trust people with that power, the more people you will get to follow you. The fourth thing that leaders have to be aware of is the goals and dreams of the people that are following you.
Right.
You can't be so focused on your own agenda that you don't look out for what people need in their own growth patterns, because people will go into your company because they're trying to achieve their own agenda also.
Right.
You have to know your individuals and know what motivates them and put them in areas where they will be motivated to work hard and do what the company needs, but they're also getting that knowledge and experience that they need and those promotions that they might need and want to keep them focused in that company. Right. Because the worst thing you can do is to train people and then they leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now you got to you've now wasted all that money. And now you got to take that money and reinvest it into someone new. And it's going to take time and money to get them back up to that point. And if you don't, as a leader, change your strategies, you keep training people, but they keep leaving. And so you're wasting money on individuals who will take that training and start their own company or take that training to another company. Your competitors, if need be. Because the competitors are giving them more, the competitors are giving them more opportunities for growth and financial reward. And so to me, Leadership is about taking the steers, because the steers is what it takes to get you from a selfish um, individual who is self motivated
Right.
to a selfless leader who is willing to give the group the glory, but you will take the brunt of the bad press, of bad publicity, or whatever when the group does not reach its goals.
Mm.
Because you can't get your subordinates to be innovative if every time one of their ideas fails, they get fired.
Right.
And so a leader must be willing to encourage people to be creative, knowing that some of their creativity might hit a brick wall and don't grow into some level of financial gain. And that's when the leader's like, yeah, I got your back. If it doesn't work out, I got your back, because we're trying to be innovative.
Right.
And so those are the kind of things that it talks about in the book, how to prepare yourself for selfless and servant leadership.
Wow. Wow, man. Listen, we just based on the three books, we've said a whole lot that kind of wraps itself around itself, right? Because when you talk about the elevator and you talk about the stairs,
Mm-hmm.
it can fall into your seeking happiness book, right?
Definitely,
It
definitely.
also can fall into the 12P model. It's really, the concept is really, how fast do you want to get to where you want to get to?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like cooking, right? Now, we started, I'm pretty sure at some point we'll jump back into the cooking show,
Yeah, yeah.
your place of mine or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, we did a example, cooking styles, right? What is your cooking style? What is your happiness style? Where do you want to be? And I like what you said is, in the leadership motto is, you want to take the steps because you want to learn as you go.
Mm-hmm.
How many of us really fast paced to the top of the hill or the mountain, and you think, you look out there and you see all these owners of these companies, like, man, how do you get up there, whatever? And it may have looked easy, but folk took years of step climbing to get to where they got to. It's not an overnight. Overnight success is only in lottery. Okay, now you can pick that apart if you want to. That's only in lottery. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that don't last.
And not
it
only
doesn't
that,
last.
most people who win the lottery, unless there's a mindset change, they'll be broke within 5 years.
Absolutely.
Because there's a mindset that goes along with building wealth versus getting wealth.
Absolutely.
And a lot of
Absolutely.
people
Absolutely.
don't think, people say, well, if I had $1 million, I'll never work again. Why not? If you never work again, you probably be broke within 5 years, because that money doesn't stay. You can blow $1 million really fast in this day and age.
You can blow $1 million in an hour. I'll
Oh
teach you
yeah.
how. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you can lose it as quick as you got it, as quick as you can lose it as well. So don't be fooled by what you see on TV. It is not the truth.
It
Um,
definitely
so,
is.
so, Dr. Howe,
Yeah.
as we continue in this, I've been calling it in this phase, in this season that we're about to jump into,
Mhm.
what can our viewers and listeners see coming their way?
Well, you know what? I'm glad you asked that question. One of the things that I've been developing are the levels to the peace method, and the peace method is something that I developed to help me in my relationship, and I have helped other people in their relationship find systems that allows them to cultivate and maintain a happy and healthy relationship. But it takes work. And as we said, happiness does not come from someone else, it comes from within. But if you really want to have a happy and healthy relationship, we have to go from the selfish level of relationship, which is how most relationships start, to the selfless level of relationship, loving, which is I'm doing things to add value to your life, to the service type level of relationship where I am creating situations so you can transform into the best version of yourself. So I'm not just trying to make you happy. I'm trying to create all of the ingredients that you need to help you be the best version possible of yourself.
Right.
And so at that point, I'm not trying to get anything from you. I'm doing things for you, whether you do them back for me or not.
Right. Yeah.
Now think about it. I've seen some shows and I've seen some TikToks where, and think about it in your relationship. If your wife tells you she loves you and she's looking at you in your face, what is she expecting back from you?
Same thing.
Exactly. And that's because it's transactional.
Hmm.
If I tell you I love you and you don't say anything back to me, I feel like you don't love me. I feel like you don't respect me. I feel like you're not at the same level I'm at. And that's because we're doing things to get something in return. So it is still a selfish relationship. And I'm not saying anything is 100% wrong with that, because relationships are transactional by nature.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is we need to take it to the next level where it is transformational. So I want you to go from transactional to transformational, where I am doing this for you, whether you do this for me or not. Now, if you pick the right type of person, if you're pouring into them and they have any type of conscience, they will want to reciprocate that to you.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to be a one-sided relationship, but it could be a one-sided relationship until they pick up on what you're doing and until their conscience kicks in. And that's why choosing the right person is the most important part of a relationship, because you want to make sure they have similar values. You want to make sure they have similar goals. You want to make sure they have a similar vision, so that when you're pouring into them, they feel the need to pour into you, not because you're asking, because nobody really wants to. If I ask you to tell me that you love me, does it feel the same way when you say it?
No.
If you have to force someone to tell you that they love you, it doesn't feel the same.
Mm-mm.
So you want to pour into someone and have them pour back into you, but you're willing to do it before they are willing to do it for you, because you're not transactional, you're transformational. And so the peace method tries to get people to that point. And the acronym I use is, what are the processes that you use in the relationship to see how healthy your relationship is? Or what are the processes you use to navigate your relationship on a daily basis? You look at them and analyze them to see if they're healthy processes or healthy systems. The E stands for evaluate. I want to make sure that I look at each one of those systems to see if they're necessary. I want to look at each one of them to see if they're positive or negative, and if they need tweaking in any way. And then I have to accept the fact that it is my job to fix my part in those systems, and my job to fix whatever is broken in the relationship, my part of it.
Right. Yeah.
Because if I'm trying to communicate to you and you're being quiet, my part might be, I might be a little overly aggressive because I'm upset. So I might be raising my voice. Your part might be quiet. You might shut down, and you're saying, well, I wasn't arguing, and you feel good about the fact that you didn't raise your voice. But your role is you did not communicate back to me. So how can you fix that part in the relationship where you don't shut down and you openly communicate to me? My part is working on my emotional part, working on my aggression part, raising my voice at you and learning to listen to what you have to say and not listening to rebuttal.
Right. Yeah.
So you can be actively or passively involved in that particular system, and you might think that you're taking the high road because you didn't argue back. But with your lack of communication or your lack of transparency or your lack of whatever it might be, that could be equally as devastating to the relationship, even though it didn't look like it was an active thing or it didn't look like a negative thing.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then the C in peace stands for my commitment to being uncomfortable with changing my activity, because change is uncomfortable. It's easy to be quiet and shut down and watch you act foolish and say, well, you're always raising your voice. But my commitment to the relationship means I have to do my part to help you get what you need out of the relationship also.
Right. Yeah.
So I have to commit to being uncomfortable and talking when I feel like shutting down. I have to commit to washing the dishes before I go to bed if that's a biggie for you. I have to commit to making the bed if that's something that you need in order to feel like I'm pulling my weight in the house.
Right. Yeah.
So I have to commit to being uncomfortable. And then the E in peace, that last E, means enjoyment. I have to look for things to be grateful for every day. I have to find ways to enjoy the relationship and enjoy my partner every day, because it's easy to take each other for granted and it's easy to think that we will always be there. But if I have things that I can be grateful for, then I can express them to you. So when you might have had some doubt as to how much I love you, now you heard 3 different times from me each day how I love you, because I'm showing you and I'm expressing my gratitude to you. And that allows the pessimist to also look for things to be grateful for in their relationship. And over time, you will stop seeing the negative that your partner might be doing, and you're searching and looking and accepting the positives that they do.
Wow. Peace. Peace.
And there are 5 levels to them.
And 5 levels to them.
And
Peace.
each PEACE stands for something else.
Right. Yeah.
Level.
That's awesome, Dr. Howe. Listen, we don't want to give away too much because we want the people to come back. We want them to remember the PEACE.
Yes.
Peace, because I'm sure throughout different episodes they'll hear little pieces, no pun intended, of that model, that concept. And so we do look forward to that. We also look forward to the community of sharing. Share some of these videos. Check us out. Look at some of our shorts and things, and share them with individuals who need something, a quick pick me up. Something that they can say, ooh, ah. You know what I mean? So, because everybody needs a little something. So Dr. Howe, the question is that we ask everybody from time to time is, can they relate to this? Listen, we'll check you all out. We'll see y'all later. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Relate to this. chores and like the house.